At this point, we will jump on our first duty on the program, and that's to begin to engage Major General John Enenche, retired, a former image maker of the gallant Nigerian Army, and who is at the moment beginning to devote much of his attention to partisan politics, as according to him, every hand should be on deck to elect leaders who can be more responsive to the yearnings of Nigerians. The General joins us now. Good morning, General. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Rise team.
Good morning indeed. Good to have you join us this beautiful Sunday morning. All right, let's go straight into it. I know that you're retired, and you know in Nigeria we have had former generals or generals, you know, who were in uniform but now in Agbada, you know, in active politics. But what's your opinion? Why do you feel the need to contribute to the democratic process leading to the 2023 general elections?
Once more, thank you for having me in your studio. Of course, after a very long while. Now, like I stated earlier in one of the podcasts that I made, I thought through the investment that Nigeria has made on people like us, particularly me. And I weighed it against the fact that for every officer, soldier that served for the length of service of over 30 years, you desire seriously to retire into a peaceful life with good security, good economic conditions, whereby your pension should be able to sustain you. But that is not the situation as it is in this country. And I looked back, over 20 years ago, it has been hope against hope, believing that things will get better. Placing it against the first statement I made, that the country has invested so much in me, and what do I do now to pay back, looking at all these things, the situation in the country? And I prayed about it, and the Lord convinced me to contribute positively to the democratic process in this country. And that is why I made up my mind. I prayed and I was convinced, and I said, let me contribute to pay back to the investment that the government has made in me and the people of my category. So that was what informed my decision to contribute, just to pay back, and to ensure that the future generation that we have, they have hope of a country that they can be proud of, a country that they have future. For instance, I have 3 graduates in my house. None of them is gainfully employed. They are into entrepreneurship. And even the entrepreneurship they are doing, the economic situation does not guarantee, good progress, prosperity in it. I thought of retiring to the village. In short, my late wife told me, some years ago, I never knew she foresaw it. He says, sir, if you are going, I will not follow you. I didn't understand then. Now, the village house, I have about 2 bedrooms. Just no more than, but say 3 kilometers from there, all manner of atrocities, all manner of criminality, kidnapping and all. Can I retire to such a place? No. So the point I'm making is that if you don't make it good, both for those of us who are in the middle stage of our life now and our children, then we will not have a country. So why do I sit back and look? Just like others, they just sit back. Some people are just on the fence, and I've even spoken about that. There is no need, because at the end, there may be no fence to sit on. That is just the reason why I am convinced that I should add value to what we have now to make a better Nigeria for all citizens.
All right, General Enenche, let's look at some topical issues on the horizon. In terms of your wealth of experience in the military, would you be convinced or say confidently that we are in a safe situation? Will you be confident assuring Nigerians of secure elections in 2023?
Please, may you repeat the question again?
Yeah,
please,
I'm saying, going by your wealth of experience in the Nigerian military, what's your outlook on the upcoming elections? Would you confidently assure, or would you say in terms of your position that Nigerians will experience safe and secure elections in 2023?
Oh, yes. With my wealth of experience, I think by the special grace of God, I served in the military actively for about 34 years or thereabout, plus my cadet days, about 37 years, 2 months and 10 days. And in the field, from when I was a subaltern, I have seen the military that I served for that length of time. I entered the military at a time when there was a civilian regime, not even civilian regime, military regime of Babangida. And from that time up to now, when eventually it was handed over to the civilian administration and then truncated a little, it has been a military that is dedicated to support democracy. And I want to say that from up to when I left, it has not changed. Now, talking about the assurance, I looked at something from the research I have made over time, of which I even spoke to the public about it on my open letter to Nigerians, that the issue of followership is determined by leadership. Once you get the right leadership, you have the followership. What am I saying? Now let me narrow it down to the military. You have well-trained leadership in the army, Air Force and Navy as it is now. And they cannot do otherwise. The followership does not do otherwise. So with that one, I can say right from the Chief of Defense Staff, Chief of Army Staff, Chief of the Naval Staff, Chief of the Air Staff, down the principal staff officers, commanders in the field, all of them from when I was there, and I believe it is still so, they are committed to ensuring that democracy in this country is defended and sustained and protected. And having said that, I am rest assured. I'm not talking for them now because I'm not a spokesperson, but you said from my wealth of experience. I know that for that length of time, it is not possible, feasible from my own analysis, for them to change, no. So I can assure that these are committed people, committed to ensuring that democracy is sustained in this country, because that is the best practice in the world now, and that is the best practice. And of course, I can say that the military, they are better off under a democratic dispensation than any other. So I can assure the general, I can assure the people listening, everybody that, look, the military we have that I left, as it were, is a military that we support democracy and ensure that elections are conducted, whatever task they are given, they will do it well. All the ones that I witnessed when the elections are coming up, and then before you know it, the CDS will package the services, and then they do it, and then at the end of the day, we have, good elections, well protected. For instance, there's an instance, the recent Anambra State, the most recent. You saw the way, there were complaints here and there. The officer on the ground, the senior officer, the commander, was firm, and he, allowed everybody to play by the rules of the game without interference. So with that one, I can tell you that will be replicated. What we have been doing, the military has been doing over the years to sustain, to support democracy, will still be replicated, if not better, for the coming one. So I can give that assurance based on my own analysis.
Well, thanks for that assurance. I'm sure Nigerians will feel satisfied with that as well. Now, I wanted to ask you two questions. Are you satisfied with the conduct of politicians and the vision they are projecting to Nigerians? Secondly, your inclusion as a member of the Labour Party's Presidential Campaign Council, was met with a lot of resistance from a cross-section of the party's supporters, which led to the substitution of your name. And in spite of this, you continue to offer your support to Peter Obi's presidential aspiration. First, would you, I would like to know how you feel about that substitution and why you continue to lend your support to Peter Obi and the Labour Party.
Okay, let me start from the one about, you say about the Nigerian politicians. I think, and talking about Nigerian politicians is an individual thing. And like I said, let me just take us back for the past two parties that dominated the terrain. And if you now call them two parties, in the real sense, they are not two parties. It's just one. One coin. You turn this side, you turn, they are the same thing. So I will say that if you talk about, I'm not in a position, I'm not God, but what we, to assess people, what they are. But what I see, what we have seen, and that is what informed my openly declaring and supporting the Labour Party, in short, particularly the principals. Because when you look at, you cannot give what you don't have. I'm sorry to say that all what they have displayed, the manifestos are just in some paper. I was a trainer, and we used to conduct researches and all that, in addition to what I saw physically manifested for this period. So I don't believe, I don't know whether the people can change overnight from being what they are. I don't know. So that is why, that is the way I see them. It's just one coin. If you say Nigerians were just complaining, bad leadership, bad governance, those that were in one party, they went to the other party, have they changed? I mean, it is obvious, it is difficult to change. And there's a proverb in my place that the big rabbit does not forget its old hole. Have they forgotten the old hole to come? And so all these things they are saying is just, and I look at it as protecting their status, or their, in quote, maybe their future. That is why you see all this canvassing. So I believe that it is time now for us to come up with a new thing, the people with ideology. Let me tell you, one of the things that actually even encouraged me about, when you look at Labour Party comprise the people that sometimes, if you are not careful, you will neglect in the society. You talk about the people, they say they are, on internet, there are people on Facebook, social media and all, but they are important. As little as that percentage is in the obedient movement now, they are very, very critical in every ramification. They are very, very critical, very few. Then you now talk about the old people, a lot, the chunk, from my own analysis, the chunk of the people in the Labour Party are people who either left the older parties for one reason or the other, and probably must have made up their mind. Now we want a change. Because of what we saw in the other parties, we are changing. So that's another category. Now you look at another category there, which is the core Labour people, NLC and TUC. Those ones are the people that they are the major organs. And all these people that you talk about, Labour people are people who have been laboring to see that they get results. Then you now talk about maybe technocrats and bureaucrats, people like say, look, I want a good Nigeria, where I can. So when you put all this together, I believe that these are people that can come up with an ideology. And you remember the Labour say, look, anything about Labour Party is going to revolve around the charter, Nigerian Labour Congress charter, which is good. And I believe that once it is like that, I have seen that the principals here, the presidential candidates and the vice presidential candidates are not people that will lord it over people. That is a man that I have known for about 17 years. Then the VP also, so based on that, I can say that now it is good for a paradigm shift. By the time the Labour Party comes together after the elections, you can now have people with real ideologies, selfless people that want to serve without being, selfish, grabbing here and there, people who will be, before you know it, all manner of stories, that without people that you can entrust, they are competent, they are capable, people that will walk their talk, whatever they are saying, they will walk it, not that tell something that cannot do it, and people that will cooperate, like for instance, the Labour, the Labour, the NLC, the workers and co, they will no longer do I'm adding my own, because part of what we have, the situation we have is, in short, there was a place I went. after retirement. And I wanted them to say, but they say no, table to table. I said, what do you mean by table to table? They say I need to give money that is a standard. Why? Before I need another person say that is my own, what do you call it, security vote. Haba. So you can see that once there is a change, and then these people now come up with this ideology, that you cannot expect to happen with the old brigade. The old brigade, they are used to it, they have a root, they have a stem. You cannot change the stem of a root overnight, except you cut it. So that is it. So that is the way I can talk about that whole part. Now, you asked about the reaction that trailed my... It is for good. Why do I say it's for good? This category of very critical people, I call them critical mass, in the movement, in the run-up to... You need to inform them properly, strategic information. How old are the majority of them? Yes, and these are people that look, they're on the fast lane. They want information. So I am not perturbed in any way. Rather, it is for my own good and for the good of the Labour Party. Now we have a lot to do. The campaign is just one small aspect of the much we need to do to ensure that the Labour Party comes into government. So I am not perturbed in any way at all. It is for good. And that was why when I issued that statement, of course, by my own analysis, I always analyze because by my training, when I get bulk, I analyze and segregate them, samplize them. And when I sample them, at the end, when the statement came out, about 60 to 70%, oh, we didn't know this, we didn't know that. About 10%, so the majority were on the part that said, look, we can now understand better. But still, they are, so we need them. So I am not perturbed, and it gave me an opportunity to inform them. And by and large, trusting God, at the appropriate time, I think, if possible, they will need to they will be made to know that, look, this is and that, and this is how things happened. To the, that it will not affect anybody in any way. So I am not perturbed. I am encouraged by what has happened, because it has happened now, and majority of them say, look, we need people like this. Let us ensure, because the sincerity is in me to ensure that we have a Nigeria that is secured, a Nigeria that economy will be good, a Nigeria that I only will not sit and be getting phone calls every other day for support, a Nigeria that children can be empowered, a Nigeria that there is hope, a Nigeria that the upcoming generation, in the next couple of years, we know that you don't need to know somebody before you can go forward. A Nigeria that you know that if you want to go out for anything, it's on merit. A Nigeria that when you go out, where you are there and things will be done properly, not that because of where you come from or because of this or that, you will be discriminated against. A Nigeria where there's equitable distribution of resources. A Nigeria where the children will begin to look at, you have to work with your hands, you have to labor before you get, not corruption. The idea is that it's like corruption now. Everything is corruption has became like a norm. So that is why I must remain and ensure, convinced by the Holy Spirit of God, that I need to support Obi Dati because of this reason. So I am not perturbed, I'm not discouraged. It has encouraged me for more strategic communication.
General Enenche, I just wanted to clarify for the benefit of our viewers, the statement that you're talking about. Was it the one that you released on Friday, which addressed the backlash you received on the issue of NSAS? You said that you only declared that the shooting was photoshopped because of an oath of allegiance you swore on the commission into the military service. I would like for you to actually clarify that statement. Does it mean that the commission encourages deceit? It appears that we've lost connection. Well, I guess we'll have to take a short break and then we'll come back. Welcome back to the morning show. Still with us is Major General John Enenche, a former image maker of the gallant Nigerian Army. Thank you for staying with us. Before we went on a break there, we were trying to clarify the statement that you referred to. I wanted to know if it was the statement that you posted on your Twitter page, where you addressed the backlash you received on the issue of NSAS. You said that you only declared that the shooting, the Lekki shooting, was photoshopped because of an oath of allegiance you swore on the commission into the military service. I would like for you to clarify that, if that's the statement that you're talking about.
They have deviated. They have deviated. The question you asked earlier on was that despite the reactions that trade the statement, the press statement I made, whether I am still comfortable to support and to work for Labour Party to ensure that they are in government. That was the question you asked earlier on.
Yes. But while you were addressing that question, you said that you had released a statement. And
let me respond to that.
Sure.
Let me respond to that.
Sure.
It didn't discourage me at all. And like I was saying, this question you asked now, you didn't ask that one earlier on. But let me respond to that one, the one that you asked. And it doesn't because it encouraged me. Like I said, it encouraged me because the issue is not about any other thing, but to ensure that we have a government that is responsive to what is happening in the country now. That was why I came out. And that is why I will not be discouraged by whether I was removed from the presidential campaign council list or not. And I was trying to explain to you that the presidential campaign is one small aspect of all the effort in totality to ensure that we have the Labour Party government in place. And that is why I'm not discouraged. And I will continue to work assiduously to ensure that that is done. Now, the statement is explanative, is completely explanative to the target audience. And that was why I made it as a press statement and released it. So it is that statement that I still stand by. And like I said, I don't know what other explanations you were requiring regarding that statement, regarding that press statement. I feel that it is enough, just like I released it, and a lot of people have responded to it, both positively and negatively. And I want it to remain at that.
Okay, all right. Respect that.
All right. Thank you, General. Thank you very much. I know that I know that you're welcome, sir. I know that as a men of uniform, you're trained to obey the last order, and I'm sure that you must have obeyed the last order while you were in service. Now that you have become obedient, I would like to know if all the things that you have said about our country, Nigeria, the fact that your 3 grown-up sons have not found jobs, they are now self-employed, the fact that you talk about your pension, the fact that you talk about the state of affairs in our country. I'm asking, is this your verdict on the current administration in Nigeria? And what do you think that Peter Obi would do differently? Given the fact that Peter Obi was once in APGA, ran as the running mate to Vice President Atiku Abubakar only 4 years ago before he left PDP, and now with Labour Party. Why do you have so much hopes in him being different when in actual fact he's also from that club of those who have been part of running the country? What do you think that he would do differently?
Okay, what Peter Obi will do differently is based on my one, personal experience with him, and then secondly, based on the fact that in every multiple you have an exception, one that stands out based on pedigree. Like in my press statement that I released, 17 years ago, I was a commanding officer at Enenche before he came and became the governor. The moment he came, he came straight to the barracks and called. And we sat down. He took the security of Anambra, Enenche in particular, very personal. Because as it were then, for about 2 or 3 weeks, everything was motionless, nothing happening in Enenche town. The dedication with which he put it to ensure that normalcy was restored with other security agencies to me, goes to show that he can replicate that in this country at a higher level. Secondly, I looked at a situation whereby you have somebody that has not been involved corruption, whether he convicted or otherwise. I put all that together and I said, I am convinced that this is somebody. Of course, he was in other parties before. In the Labour Party, you know, my analysis I made, we have people coming and they left based on one conviction or the other that we cannot continue like this. The same thing, it is not possible in reality to have the kind of Labour Party we have. The experiences of people from other climes really matters. Where you know what they do, you'll be able to block them. What happens that is not correct. So I am convinced for the fact that glaringly you see him having the energy. Look at the way he talks all over the whole place. You see the knowledge, economic knowledge. You see the acceptance worldwide, and even in this country, the way it's spreading. Those are a few among others that himself and his vice president can give good leadership that will engender followership than the ministries, departments, and agencies of government, and then the other political supporters. So that is my conviction that he can be the person that will lead this country into having a good foundation for a party that will work with ideologies.
All right, General Enenche, let's talk about you now. Now, after the Labour Party Presidential Campaign Council debacle, what is your stand and level of interest in political participation? You touched on this quite briefly earlier, but not in very clear terms.
Yes, in clear terms, I think I am in as sometimes you look at some people, you call them bureaucrats, technocrats, and then with interest in politics. Like I told you earlier on, retirement is not to come and join politics, chesting it like this, no. But I feel that those of us who have been, invested upon in this country, we need to speak out, let people see it, and then add value. My knowledge in the military, my knowledge in security services, my knowledge in every other area, as a strategist, as a teacher, so I need to bring it in. So that is what I have to put on the table, and that is my focus, adding value to ensure that we have a country that we can be proud of and a future for the coming generations.
So your level of interest is quite high, is what we're hearing?
More than high, super high.
Okay.
Well,
Got it.
All right. Well, thank you very much, General Enenche, for joining us on the morning show today.